for the increase, when like we're being told that if we do certain things economically through economic development here in town, we could be in a whole lot more jobs. Like I'm thinking, how do you correlate that to you, or don't you plan cuts? You just go on your standard projections.
Yeah, the short answer is that's correct. What I do each year is the model uses current demographics, adds 1% school age and moving in, and then each September I just do a manually comparison. Did any communities step outside of that frame? And so far, as I've done the last 3 years, no community has stepped outside the frame of being very close to what we expected would be there in September with you. Yeah. So we would continue to do that in future years for each community because it's a plan and it's always being reviewed.
I just had one more question, and that was demographically, how did we compare with other communities like Vernon or the population in the, say, kindergarten classes? Are they seeing the same declines everywhere?
The demographics are very similar across the province. Vernon ourselves will be quite similar. What's happened the last few years has blurred it, and I guess for ourselves we we have have some of their issues to deal with instead of ours.
Futurist, and it was about interpreting the census. And about 20 minutes of what he talked about focused on the new census and the impact and the planning that school districts can do based on census figures. And exactly what you've put together here is what he was saying that is available with the census. But I guess we're just about to start our budget process, and I think we don't, at this table, realize how lucky we are in that as tough as the budget process can be, we've had consistently 3 or 4% growth to be able to use to deal with balancing our budget as closely as we can, and it decreases the tax increases. You guys every year are dealing with significant decreases and then having to balance a budget, so I totally empathize with you. And generally, if looking at these numbers, if you looked at just the numbers, there'd be a couple schools that you would close based on the numbers. And I know how difficult that is for the board to deal with those closures. So all I can say is that as tough as our job's going to be in the next month, I don't envy what you guys have to do every year when you get these kind of numbers. And with regards to what Councillor Lott, maybe in the future there'll be a need for more schools, I can't see that for 30 or 40 years based on the demographics and birth rates and things like that. I mean, by 2015, based on your numbers here, you're going to be 30% below the capacity of the existing schools. I'm never going to necessarily get filled. And unfortunately, as we've learned over the last 2 years, the government makes it very difficult for you to dispose of your assets in any way that can the students of our area too, unfortunately. Has to sit there for future schools. Well, I don't see you needing to build too many future schools.
Councillor Kane.
Other than it came 96 and the 97 grads definitely have to start adding to our population. But looking at this, when you look at Bastion Elementary with the French immersion, I mean, those programs, people want to see those programs, and you can tell by it being overpopulated. And then looking at the numbers on here, I mean, I think you have some tough decisions, as Councillor Flynn said, with some possible closures coming up, or looking at some schools that are going to have to possibly close. And the other thing is with King's, which isn't in these numbers, their enrollment is up, I think. So that takes away some students as well from the district. So I don't envy your guys' job because there's some tough decisions looking at these numbers.
Councillor Lyles.
Thanks for the pressure, fellas. Councillor Kettle talked about an issue, and I'm going to get to the point, but a joint use agreement I think is excellent, and I know it all costs money, and I sometimes complain about spending it, but I think it's well worth it in the long run. Something that I'm just going to throw out there is maybe just planting a seed is that I know that our communities each one of our neighborhoods has a central school, Bastion, that area. We have Canoe, Hillcrest, Samarin West, Samarin Mill. And something I'd like to see happen in a few guys is the busing of these schools and their neighborhood hubs. And I think that if we look in the future for our community to advance forward in a joint use agreement, I think that by using the schools as a neighborhood hub for transit, that we could work together and ease both of our costs and increase our public transportation. And I think that in the future, as we move forward with, once we've dealt with parks and open spaces with our joint use agreement, that's something that we could tackle to maybe help offset some of the costs to you and increase the services and go green a little better and more effectively in our community. Because I think the systems are there, the spaces are there, and the neighborhood hubs are there. I think we just need to come up with a creative solution to benefit both the parents and the students and our community and our traffic. So
We're always willing to look at any question.
yeah, and the staff just goes, watch it. So that's something that maybe we look at in the future, and I think it'd be worthwhile for both parties.
Well, thank you very much for
Just say one thing. I'm not pessimistic. When I first came on the board, we had a long-term planning session where we had specialists come and telling us that we were going to increase and we had to acquire more land to build more schools. Look where we are. Maybe Constable Eliason is right. Maybe we are going to grow. Maybe we are going to face the prospect of putting portable and building schools. I love to see this happening. But in the meanwhile, all we can do is make our city more friendly for kids, us provide the best possible education, make the best compromise, think outside the box, and hopefully we'll solve the problem.
We were wrong before, maybe we'll be wrong again. Well, thank you very much for taking the time to educate as consequences. I certainly don't envy you and your budget process. Thank you again.
Next item, Ward 2, OCP 3000-38, zoning 75. We have a motion.
Councillor Flynn, second by Councillor Harrison, and the motion, Your Worship, is as contained on pages 27 and 28.
Thank you, Worship. The subject property is located at 2450 10th Avenue Southeast, just a little east or nearby the Hillcrest Elementary School. The motion for consideration is to change three policies of the community plan and a rezoning amendment as well, basically to permit residential development, R1 development in southern 324 meters of the subject property. And essentially the application covers the land in the ALR, as shown on the screen, as well as that land which is designated for the subject property. As part of the application, about 7 acres of the site is under application. The soils for the property are as indicated in the report. The land is agricultural land reserve, and the Land Commission has received their preliminary referral. And similar to the previous applications in the area, the Land Commission is not supportive of the application. And just as a reminder, Council is unable to adopt the proposed amendments unless the Land Commission Act policies in which this application is called. And further to that, for that reason, a number of these that the application is contrary to, as well as infill analysis that's been undertaken by staff. Staff still feels that there's land available in residential development area A, as well as two other development areas B and C here within the city, to accommodate residential development without having to expand the urban containment boundary into ALR land. Therefore, staff are not supportive of the application.